Hey folks, we are back with Andrew Marques of Cape Ann Savings Bank. We chatted with Andrew a few times last year as COVID hit, talking about PPP programs for small businesses. We want to follow up with that now as forgiveness deadlines are approaching, right, Andrew?
Yeah, that's right, Corey. And it's great to see you both again. I did want to jump on and touch base with the latest developments in the program and hit on that forgiveness deadline. So, anyone that took advantage of the first draw loans in spring 2020 and thereafter should start considering the forgiveness deadline. There's a 10-month window after the qualifying period where a business must submit their forgiveness application. If it's not submitted in that 10-month deadline, again, after that qualifying 8-week or which got extended to 24-week period, they'll have to pay the loan back um, under the terms stated in the note. So over 5 years at 1%. So that's the deadline there. And it's obviously really important to start thinking about, especially as everyone's getting their taxes together and submitting those. It's a good time to get that info over to the banks to get that settled.
Now, Andrew, what do you recommend these small business owners do? Should they go through their accountant, through their banker?
They're probably through the banker initially because there's certain forms that someone may have readily available, whether it's a payroll report from a payroll company, the quarterly tax filings for payroll, and then account statements showing the other qualifying expenses like rent checks, utility bills, things like that. So not necessary to go through the accountant, but sometimes it's helpful just to get that information, and they can often help make some calculations because they're very well versed in these guidelines as well as the bankers are too.
And you also want to talk about which businesses actually can submit applications.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so right now we're in the middle of a 14-day window where the SBA has limited it to small businesses and sole proprietors, self-employed individuals. So any business under 20 employees, or obviously someone that works for themselves, has a VIP pass for the SBA PPP second draw portal right now. So any larger businesses over 20 employees are on hold, and they won't be processed until these small businesses have a direct crack at the application process.
And is the process easier than it was the first time around? I know there were a lot of hiccups through the system.
Yeah, so it's been a moving goalpost the whole time. We've implemented a third-party online portal to help keep everything in order, upload documents, and fill out the application right online. So it is easier, and if you're doing a second draw loan through the same bank, it's even easier because a lot of the information is pre-filled or already on file with the bank. So there's a little less paperwork to submit that way, and they've done a better job of making the process more well known, I think, leading up to the program, given we have the experience of that first round under our belt. There's a couple disqualifying factors for the second draw loans. They've limited the size of the businesses and the top line loan amounts, which has allowed them to spread the money out to more businesses, I think, in this first funding round of the second draw program. So that's helped. But the biggest part that most small businesses need to concern themselves with is the 25% revenue reduction. They have a pretty detailed way to calculate that reduction, which is posted as part of the SBA guidance. I can share it with anyone that's interested in that. But business has to either demonstrate or confirm that they've had a 25% reduction in revenue in any given quarter of 2020 compared to that same quarter of 2019. So for most small businesses, that's the only change that's affected eligibility for the second draw.
Gotcha.
Andrew, could you comment on the success of the first round of PPP? Did that really help people out, and was it able to float them through this year? How are people feeling?
Yeah, I certainly think it was a huge success, and a way to get money out to businesses that were so uncertain. When the pandemic started, no one knew where we would be today, or 6 months from the shutdowns at that point. So we've processed a lot of forgiveness applications. They had to change some of the guidance along the way, to help those businesses. There was certain payoff implications with economic injury disaster loan grants that they modified, and just said, we're going to pay off the PPP loans in full as long as they used um, the funds appropriately. So I think it was a good move, and businesses that did take advantage of it, um, it helped, and it helped with the certainty moving forward, and being able to commit to their employees, that there'd be a job, through the summer and further.
Yeah, but this seems like a lot quieter this time around for that second draw. Why do you think that is?
I think it's a number of factors. Mostly that we have all this experience in the way we've been operating business over the last year. Also, the dollar size of the loans, there hasn't been a huge rush because those large dollar loans aren't eating away at the overall budget for the program as quickly as they did that first round. And also the eligibility, the factors are important, and it's kind of made people crunch the numbers a little bit before just rushing to get an application in. And some businesses may not feel like they're in the position to need the money at this point. So I agree, it has seemed quieter, but also I think it's because there was more information out there, better understanding about how the program worked, and what was required to apply and be granted those loans.
Gotcha. Well, if you have any information you want to pass along to us, you can do that whenever. Is there anything else you want to share with the public right now?
Yeah, I have a couple points. SBA again is working hard to fine tune their guidance to make sure that small businesses can access this. They're setting aside $1 billion for really small businesses that had employees in low or moderate income areas. Lots of parts of the North Shore would qualify for that. They've also made changes to who can qualify. So in the past, if someone was delinquent on a federal student loan, they were disqualified from PPP. They've modified that to not hold that against people, especially through the pandemic. Some people fell behind on their student loans and weren't able to qualify for the second round. So they modified that. And the big one is March 31st deadline for the second round. Right now, SBA cannot approve loans after March 31st. So banks need to accept an application, get it processed and submitted and approved by the SBA by March 31st. So really there should be a 2-week window ahead of that if you're still thinking about a PPP second draw, or even first draw loan program is still open. So if you didn't take advantage of the first round, you can apply for that now. And we have until March 31st to get those submitted and approved by the SBA.
Gotcha. And you're not expecting an extension of any sort, at least not. Yeah.
There may be. I think it'll depend on the funding at that point. But right now, until it's written into law, that's what we have to go by.
Gotcha.
And obviously, this is not part of the COVID relief plan because that has not been passed. So this is the Small Business Administration.
Yes, this is part of the CARES Act and the Flexibility Act that came along with it. And then more recently, the opening of the second draw loan, which was the end of 2020, beginning of 2021.
You mentioned location has something to do with this, right? Who can qualify by where the business is situated? Are there a lot of businesses within Cape Ann or in Gloucester that would qualify?
Yeah, so that really has to do with they're setting aside specific dollar amount in loan proceeds for those businesses operating in those areas.
Okay.
So the tracking data for the census tracking data for the area, you can just do a Google search, search low to moderate income regions in Massachusetts, and that'll come up with the results of, who would qualify in that area. But Gloucester and many other towns and communities are divided into different census tracts and deemed based on their income, deemed different levels there. So low, moderate, high income areas.
Interesting stuff, Andrew. We appreciate your time and your work as always. And we can follow up after the 31st if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, love to.
Great. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again. Thank you.